Thank you for joining me on this special episode of True Crime Arizona, Lori Vallow's Deadly Delusions. It's been a long waiting game in this high-profile murder case, but it is back in motion now that Lori was found fit to stand trial. So let's catch you up to speed. You might remember 2 days after a grand jury indicted Lori on murder and conspiracy charges, the case was put on pause after a licensed clinical psychologist found her incompetent. The Idaho prosecutor initially challenged the competency finding, but withdrew it a few weeks later. Lori has been in the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare since June 2021 until now. A judge determined now, nearly 10 months later, her competency is restored.
Having not seen the records, I'm sure that there's medications, there's counseling, there's all kinds of input. There's undoubtedly a lot of testing that's just going on.
Former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Mel McDonald says Lori being restored means the court believes she now understands what's going on and can help her attorney.
I'm actually a little surprised she was in this long. Typically, they don't, if they go in within a few months, they're back in court. The initial surprise is that she goes in the first place. There must have been some pretty compelling reasons to go in there in the first place, and then to be in there that long. I think for purposes of the trial defense, that's going to bode well for her.
While Lori was getting restorative treatment, Chad Daybell, her co-defendant and husband, pleaded not guilty to similar charges of murder and conspiracy. Idaho state prosecutors then filed notice that they will be seeking the death penalty against Chad, but we still don't know what Lori's fate will be. McDonald says she may take a plea deal, knowing the death penalty is on the table.
The big obstacle I think they'll face with the plea is I don't know whether Lori Vallow will ever want to turn against Chad Daybell.
Lori and Chad are both facing first-degree murder charges for the deaths of 7-year-old JJ and 17-year-old Tylee. Chad is also facing a murder charge and Lori a conspiracy charge for the death of Tammy Daybell, Chad's previous wife. Right now, Chad and Lori are still co-defendants, but Chad's attorney has been trying to sever the cases for months, but the judge has so far denied that request. The former prosecutor says their sentences, though, could still be entirely different.
She obviously had some disabilities that he didn't have. And if the court finds that she was vulnerable, susceptible to his influence, and that he was basically calling the shots, you can easily impose the maximum on him and a lesser on her.
McDonald says Lori's competency and restorative treatment will likely play a big role in the trial, which is currently scheduled for January 2023.
If I'm the defense attorney, I'm going to want every piece of evidence that shows that she's a whack job, that the manner for children's death, the marriage in Hawaii, the scriptural doctrine that Chad Daybell was pushing.
Meanwhile, for JJ's biological grandparents,
today is a good day, baby. It really is.
Well, they're excited things are moving forward once again.
We were told a long time ago this is a marathon, and just to take it, take each day as it comes. I really think it's a blessing that the trial isn't until January. I think it's given us time to mentally and emotionally prepare for horrors that yet to learn. Yeah, I want it behind me, but I also do think that we need the time to prepare, because it's going to be horrific.
Kay and Larry Woodcock knew Lori for years. After all, she was married to Kay's brother Charles and adopted JJ. They said something changed in her years ago, and now they don't believe she was ever incompetent.
Just remember, Lori is historically a user of people. And
using the system,
and she
using
knows,
whatever
and
tools
she
she
abused
has.
it, right? She will abuse it, and we knew that, and so at this point, it's like, okay, whatever.
I don't think she'll ever admit guilt at all, but you never know. I don't have my crystal ball doesn't work.
I can absolutely guarantee you that nobody's going to ever convince me she was incompetent, not even close. I know her too well.
They hope at the end of this marathon, Lori gets the full extent of the law, whatever that may be.
I just want whatever is given to her. If the death penalty is part of that, we accept it. If it's life in prison, I accept that.
They're going to be in hell, whether they're in prison or they're put to death. They're going to be in hell, so there's no escaping it.
Because Lori was deemed incompetent before she could plead guilty or not guilty to the charges, she will be arraigned next Tuesday, April 19th, and Kay and Larry say they'll be there.
I look forward next week to sitting behind Lori and Chad, and I want them to know that I'm breathing right behind them. Hopefully, she at some point has to look at us. And
I don't think she'll be rolling her eyes this time.
We will bring you the very latest on what happens in court next week. And let's not forget, she's also facing a conspiracy to commit murder charge in Arizona. That's for the death of her estranged husband, Charles Vallow. Now that Lori is getting transferred back to jail in Idaho, we're just scratching the surface on what's to come. This podcast is written and reported by Kim Powell and edited by Hunter V. Norris. True Crime Arizona, Lori Vallow's Deadly Delusions is a production of Arizona's Family 3 TV and CBS 5 in Phoenix, Arizona.